Okay. Well, I'd like to open the Monday, July 20th, Leavenworth Board of Zoning Appeals. All commissioners are present with the exception of one, so we do have a quorum. Next item is the approval of the minutes for the 15 June meeting. If everyone has had a chance to look at those, are there any comments, questions, corrections? Or if not, a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No old business, new business. 2020-23 BZA 1325 South 4th Street. Staff report, please.
Okay, Jackie Porter will handle this one.
All right, the applicant, Mr. Winstead, is requesting a variance for section 4.03 and 1.05 for the adopted development regs to expand a non-conforming structure and allow a rear yard setback to be less than 25 foot in the general business district. The property currently is a legal non-conforming structure that encroaches the required rear yard. The lot is located at 1325 South 4th Street, which is currently zoned general business district, occupied by Winstead Auto Sales. The subject property is surrounded by properties to the north, south, and west that are zoned general business district, and the property to the east are zoned R16 high density single family residential district. The general business district requires a 25-foot rear yard setback. The current structure is a legal non-conforming structure that encroaches the rear yard setback as close as 4 foot from the property line. The applicant is proposing a new addition of a 2-bay door structure or addition to the north of the structure and will measure roughly 11 foot from the property line.
And I believe the applicant is here if you have any questions for him.
Any questions from the commission?
Which one's considered the rear?
Let me get back up here. So, I have a better map. Yeah, it'd be the east side. So the Winstead's Auto faces 4th Street. 4th Street is to the west. To the north is an alley. That's not a street. And then, so the rear is the east yard, with the residential property to the east.
Okay.
So the existing building, like Jackie said, is already encroaching in that required setback, and so they're just looking to expand that existing building.
It doesn't look like the back of the building is going to line up exactly with the existing one in the back. Is that correct?
What's that?
The new addition, it doesn't look like it's just going to come off the back of the same building. So
I believe that it is.
Is
The applicant
is that
can
the
answer
intent?
that, but I believe it is gonna be just a straight expansion of what's there, not
Okay.
stepping further back.
And it-
back from the original and then over.
Oh, so it is further back?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the fourth,
Is there a reason why you're not trying to maintain that same distance and just bring
If you can
it
come
further
to
to the front?
or I can bring you the mic if that's easier for you. You sure? Okay.
Okay, yeah, we were bringing it 4 foot. The reason we extended it back 4 foot from the original wall was because they was gonna put workbenches and all in there, and the cars that they're bringing in nowadays are so much longer, and they stick out the back of the building, so. And that building was built in 1960, I think. But if we put 4 foot onto it, then we can get the vehicles in without having to leave the doors open or anything. In the winter times, you get a 4-door
It
dually
looks
or
like you
something.
have plenty of room in the front to just maintain that same rear setback and just bring it forward a little bit more.
Would you be able to do that on the front, have it stepped forward on the front instead of in the back?
Well, we could, it'd be, I didn't want to kill parking on the front. So, and I own the house behind it anyway, but, it works out so much better the way we had it set up. If it sticks out on the front, we probably kill a parking place or so, and I really didn't want to do that.
You mean on the north side? Because if you're gonna have double doors, that's gotta be free access in and out of it anyway.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
If the doors to this structure are gonna face to the west, you're not gonna have any parking there anyway. So I don't see why pushing it back to the east is really gonna affect any kind of parking at all.
Well, it just neatens up the building, putting it to the back, and that way we come straight across. It makes it a lot easier to put together, too. I just wanted basically the whole front of the building to be conformed together, straight and even, so it looked a lot neater.
Okay.
And we've got the room back there versus, I didn't want to take out the front parking.
Is the 4 foot along the alleyway acceptable?
Yeah, in this zoning district, that would be considered a side yard setback, even though there's an alley there. And so there is actually a 0 setback required in that zoning district for the side. So that is acceptable.
Yeah, I saw the garage up further in that, and it's right on the edge of it.
Yeah, that is permitted.
It also looks like the building is crooked on the lot, so is that same, it must be narrower at one point than it is up in this corner where the new addition is going to be started, is that correct?
Yeah, I think the building is not quite square on that lot, just the way it was originally constructed.
So basically, if he would have come in with a proposal for you for a permit and lined it up against the very back wall of the building, would he still need to come here?
Yes, because it would still be less than 25 feet.
Because the zoning regulations changed from the time of the original construction
Correct.
to now.
Yeah, so the existing building is legal non-conforming, and so he is adding on to that. So any addition needs to conform with our current regulations.
All right. How close can you come to the power poles? Because they're right there on the edge of the,
Yeah, that would need to be addressed at building permit, at the time of building permit, our office,
okay, so the only thing we're really reviewing is the
Just the setbacks.
rear yard setbacks.
strictly the setback.
All right. That's all the questions I have. Any questions from the rest of the board? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, if there are no questions, I'll open the public hearing. If there's anybody who either wants to speak in favor of or against, please go to the podium and state your name. And seeing none, I guess I'll close the public hearing and open it up for discussion amongst the board members. And if none,
Well, I just would comment that I'm in agreement with your comment that you made earlier. I don't think I have a problem with it extending it as long as it's even with the other building, because then it really doesn't make it any more non-conforming than what's adjacent to it. But I don't really want to push it back into that setback another 4 feet.
So if there's consensus on that, that it be in line with the existing building on the back, and that it step out in the front, After the commission goes through the criteria, if those all pass, you could make that a condition, you could add that as a condition of your approval, that the rear of the building be in line with the existing building and that any offset be on the front of the building. You could add that.
Because they could choose not to do the offset if they wanted to.
Correct,
At the front, that is.
correct.
Okay.
So Julie, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there enough setback to go 4 foot forward, or getting to the front setback line, we can't do that either?
You've got front setback is 25 feet as well.
Okay. I don't know what that property line stays.
Yeah, and our GIS is down right now, otherwise I'd pull it up and measure that for you.
I'd like to see that being a problem going forward.
The way it's proposed, the addition would still be farther back from the neighbor's property than the closest part of the existing building.
Correct, with the way it angles just a little bit on the lot there, it would be further from the neighboring property.
And did it come out that the applicant is the owner of the property to the rear?
Yes, I believe Mr. Winstead also owns the property just adjacent to the east.
The only other comment that I have is if it's 11, as the drawing depicts, if it's 11 feet from the proposed expansion to the property line in the back, and the total length of the proposed structure is a little over 32 feet, then the scale is wrong on this addition.
Yeah, and that's just hand-drawn, and this is not a scaled drawing.
Because well, right, but if
Yeah.
32 feet, it wouldn't line up with the front of the building. So is the drawing accurate that it'll be lined up with the front and extend back whatever distance, but no more than 11 feet closer to the property line?
Yes,
So if that length is indeed 32 feet, he's got more than 25 feet to the front. I mean,
yeah,
that's-
it looks
that's
like you should.
in excess of 25 feet,
Yeah,
in excess of
that's what I'm
32
saying, that
feet.
the scale doesn't really depict those numbers very well. I guess that could be part of the approval process, is that it shall
Let me see if our GIS is up yet.
not extend beyond the front, not extend beyond the back, or whatever.
It does not appear it is up yet. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so from the front corner of the building to the front property line is about 44 feet.
What's the distance from the back of the building at the same corner to the property line?
15, about 15. And so that would line up, said it was
that's
gonna
the
come out
4
4 feet,
and
so that'd be
11.
11, yeah. So yeah, so they would have plenty of room in the front.
Okay.
If you don't mind, that, I guess that would be the southeast corner of the building, from right there to the
Measure
line.
that.
Mhm.
That's about 11 right now. So then it'd be about the same as what that corner is.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments, or we can go through the criteria? Okay. A request for a variance may be granted upon the finding of the board that all of the following conditions have been met. The board shall make a determination on each condition, and the finding shall be entered into the record. Item 1, that the variance requested arises from such condition which is unique to the property in question and is not ordinarily found in the same zone or district and is not created by an action or actions of the property owner or the applicant. Commissioner Gervasini?
Approved.
I'll disagree on that.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Agree.
Commissioner Ken?
I think I'm going to agree. I wasn't going to until I realized that bottom corner was also right at about 11 feet. So I'm okay with it.
I agree.
Okay. Item 2, that the granting of the permit for the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residences. Commissioner Bates?
I agree.
Agree.
Commissioner Gervasini?
Agree.
Agree. That the strict application of the provisions of the development regulations from which the variance is requested will constitute unnecessary hardship upon the property owner represented in the application. I'll agree.
Agree.
Commissioner Kemp?
I think I'd have to disagree with that one.
Okay. Commissioner Bates?
I agree.
Okay. That the variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. Commissioner Bates?
Agree.
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 Agree. And lastly, the granting of the variance desired will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the development regulations. Agree?
Agree.
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 Okay. Approved, or based on the votes, there's possibility of approval. In granting the variance, the board may impose such conditions, safeguards, and restrictions upon the premises benefited by the variance as may be necessary to reduce or minimize any potentially injurious effects of such a variance upon other property in the neighborhood and to carry out the general purpose and intent of the development regulations. Are there any special conditions of the approval that any board member would like to put forward?
I just want to make a comment that aesthetically, I think it's going to look better if it's even in the front rather than juts out. Plus, if we required it to jut up 4 feet, although they can't park there, as a practical matter, I used to take my vehicle into this business before the current owner owned it, and you bring your car in and park in front of the garage door to go in, and it was always very congested. If you parked your car that way, there wouldn't be any room. There's not a lot of room for people to come in off the street. So if we push that closer to 4th Street, I think that could be a hazardous condition. He has to have the length of this for the newer cars, so I don't think putting a condition that it can't be any deeper than the current building, it would be appropriate either. So I don't have any conditions. I just wanted to comment on what kind of was the discussion on proposed condition.
Okay. Any other comments? And I will add that since the building is not aligned correctly and 11 feet on the one corner, the building will be no greater than 11 feet on the new addition. It essentially just maintains the current distance. Okay, based on that, motion to recommend approval without conditions.
So moved.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, approved.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you both.
Next item on the agenda, 2020-24, 550 Muncie Road. Staff report, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This, as you said, is a request for 550 Muncie Road, a request to allow an accessory structure on a lot without a principal building or use. The property is along Muncie there. It's just north of the existing Xavier Elementary School. It's a vacant lot. The development regulations do state that for accessory uses, that they are subordinate to and serve a principal building and principal use. So since that lot is vacant right now, there is no principal building or use, so therefore an accessory structure would not be allowed. So the property owner is proposing to construct a 1,500 square foot storage building to be used, I believe, for potential future outdoor athletic facilities that he is considering building there. He can speak a little bit more to that. So if you have any questions for either him or myself, I can try to answer those for you right now.
I might have some after we talk to the applicant. Sir, could you come to the microphone, please?
Yep, Mr. Acevedo? Yep, yep.
The first question I have for you, sir, is you don't own any other property in this area? You just own this one vacant lot?
Just that one right there, yes.
Okay. And I see that you installed a driveway in there not too long ago.
Right.
2 years
Approved,
ago.
yes.
But I'm curious about the building that you want to construct. One, the size of it, and will there be any utilities
The
hooked up
building,
into it, either plumbing for bathrooms, restroom facilities, or electricity at least?
no, this building I'm seeking a variance for is just strictly like a warehouse for material and equipment, just strictly storage.
So no utilities, not even outside security light or anything like
No,
that?
there will be a security light,
Okay,
yes.
okay. The potential is for you to construct this, or to construct an athletic field in this area, or could you explain a little bit more?
It's not an
what
athletic-
your intent is?
The intent is to put up an apartment building. There was one time I considered the athletic field before I purchased it. But I decided it's better to use it for an apartment construction. And that's gonna be like about 41 unit or 47 units, 3-story building. That's the, future plan for that particular lot. So in the meantime, I want a building where I can store the materials and equipment for security purposes. So I'm seeking a variance, just a storage unit.
Is there a site plan submitted for anything right now?
No, and this is not zoned for multifamily development. That would need to go through the planning commission for a rezoning. And so there would need to be a site plan submitted and approved for that, along with the rezoning. And we don't have anything on that at this time.
Not yet.
But there is one, a site plan basically for where this building is going to be.
Yeah, just for this
positioned on.
storage building that was submitted as part of this application.
And for a structure that large, it would be complicated if the plan for the residential structures came in at a later date and there was a conflict. It's not like you could pick it up and move it.
And that would be for the owner to figure out if that were to happen.
I guess I was just wondering if you wanted to delay any action on this at this time until you have a better idea of what you want to do with the rest of the property,
I do.
or,
Actually, I have a preliminary drawing, a site plan, and a 3D drawing of what the building would look like in the future.
For the multi-unit?
Yes,
Multi-family?
yes.
Okay, but that's currently not a permitted use there.
No, I mean, the preliminary drawing, actually, I came, I met with Ms. Julie one time, I showed it to her, just the initial steps. Nothing is formalized yet.
Yeah, we don't have an application on that. There's,
No, I didn't.
yeah, quite a few access issues with this. As you know, Muncie is one way there. And so we haven't, since
It's
we haven't
pretty
had a
narrow.
formal submittal on this, we haven't given this a formal,
Sure.
that proposal a formal review.
do you happen to know if the city has any plans to do any improvements on that road?
Not in the immediate future, no.
Because well, where the existing houses are is a better road than this to the west.
So if you're not able to build that multi-unit building, what would be your plans to use for this storage building?
I will be able to build it. I don't have a secondary plan. I mean, with your cooperation and, approval, I have the resources to be able to put that up eventually.
Well, that's a different board than ours.
Okay, I understand, okay.
Okay, any other questions of the applicant?
And what are you going to store in that building?
Just building materials and my equipment,
What kind of equipment?
like a bobcat, lawnmower, and any other future equipment that I might acquire can go into that building. That's why it's measuring 30 by 50 with a 16-foot garage door.
Hypothetical question, if it were rezoned to housing, what's the largest size of an outback building, garage, if you will?
Well, so.
Would be allowed in that area?
So right now, as the lot is, he could technically go up to 2,400 square feet.
And if he subdivides and then it becomes smaller, then he has a structure that's non-conforming.
Yeah, so he would have to deal with that at that point. But as the lot is, he can go up to 2,400 square feet.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess this is a good point. I'd like to open the public hearing for anybody who would either like to speak in favor of or against. If you do, go to the podium and state your name.
Yeah. I'm Steve Flanagan, and I live on Lakeview, south of that corner that this property abuts, or backs off by one lot. And my concern is, at first I read that if there was an athletic potential use, my concern was that there is so much variance in the slope there that it would be cost prohibitive to build an athletic field. But that's off the table now. And my next concern is that both Muncie and Lakeview are hard-pressed to support any more traffic. In fact, Lakeview is falling virtually in disrepair. And Muncie at that location is one way. And I'm not sure if there is sewer on Muncie, but there's not on the southern section of Lakeview. So I would think that you'd want to see how much, when you go to consider multifamily, or anybody considers multifamily, how much additional use there's going to be, traffic use, what the road plan is going to be for both Muncie and Lakeview, and what the sidewalk and sewer plan is going to be. Because right now it's taxed.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and open it up for discussion amongst the board members. I guess the only thing that we really can do is act on what's presented before us today and not what if or possibilities. So we should just take this at face value and vote on it as appropriate. And saying that, if there's no objection, I'll go through the criteria. A request for a variance may be granted upon a finding of the board that all the following conditions have been met. The board shall make a determination on each condition, and the finding shall be entered into the record. First one, that the variance requested arises from such condition which is unique to the property in question and is not ordinarily found in the same zone or district and is not created by an action or actions of the property owners or the applicant. Basing it just on the request for the outbuilding on this vacant lot, I agree. Commissioner Gervasini?
I agree.
Commissioner Kim?
I disagree.
And Commissioner Bates?
I agree.
That the granting of the permit for the variance will not adversely affect the rights of adjacent property owners or residents. Commissioner Bates?
Disagree.
Commissioner Kim?
Disagree.
I disagree.
And I disagree. That the strict application of the provisions of the development regulations from which the variance is requested will constitute an unnecessary hardship upon the property owner represented in the application. I disagree.
I disagree.
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 That the variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. Commissioner Bates?
Agree.
Commissioner Command?
Agree.
Commissioner Gervasini?
I disagree.
And I disagree. That granting of the variance desired will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the development regulations. I disagree.
I disagree.
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 Okay. Based on the vote count, recommendation is to disapprove. In granting a variance, the board may impose such conditions, safeguards, and restrictions upon the premises benefited by the variance as may be necessary to reduce or minimize any potentially injurious effects of such variance upon other property in the neighborhood and to carry out the general purpose and intent of the development regulations. Since there was a disagreement or a recommendation for non-approval, that probably is a moot point. So now I will look for a motion to disapprove the request for a variance.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. 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 Next item on the agenda. I intend to recuse myself on this. Mr. Gervasini, would you take over, please?
Sure. Next item on the agenda is 2020-26. Staff report, please.
Okay, thank you. This is a request to allow a variance to allow more than 2 accessory structures on a residential lot. The property is located at 1014 Michigan Avenue, and there is currently an existing shed and a detached garage, so those would be the 2 allowed accessory structures. The owner is proposing to install an above-ground swimming pool, which based on the definitions in our regulations is considered an accessory structure, so that would be an additional 3rd structure in addition. The owner did come in to talk to staff a couple of months ago, and I believe there was some miscommunication between the owner and staff, and the owner was given some faulty information that it would be allowed, and then he came in to get a permit for that from our building inspection division, and we caught it and realized that that should not be allowed. So he did come in as soon as we realized the mistake and that it would need a variance, and is before the board tonight as he would need to be. So the pool, you can see on this one a little bit better. The existing shed is kind of in the northeast corner of the lot. The existing garage is on the west side of the lot with the driveway off of 11th Street. And then the pool would be built in that open area of yard between, kind of between the house, the garage, and the shed. So not too terribly visible from the street. And this is taken from 11th Street, kind of looking back into the yard as much as I even could. You can't even really see that area of yard from the street. It's pretty well blocked by that existing detached garage. So if you have any questions for me, I can answer those, and I believe the applicant is here as well.
What's the thing in between the house and the,
So that's a carport. It's actually attached to the house. And since it is attached to the house, it's not considered a detached accessory structure.
It's all concrete patio and foundation underneath of it. So it's just basically a covered porch that's attached to my house.
if they extended the top of that to touch the garage, would that remove that garage as a structure?
That would get into some building code issues, and when you start talking about that, there's some pretty significant building code issues involved. I do not believe that would be allowed, actually.
Okay.
If it was like a breezeway, it would not be allowed.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You'd need to talk to the building inspection division, but that was not proposed, so.
Okay.
Why are pools considered a structure?
Just based on the definition, since it's another freestanding structure, something in the yard, they fall under that definition.
Is there a size requirement for that?
No.
If it was in the ground, would it still apply?
Yes, any pool is considered an accessory structure.
Interesting.
Interesting. Any other questions?
Can I ask the applicant a question?
Yep, if you could come up to the microphone.
The shed that's on the property,
Yes, ma'am.
is that something you use a lot, or is it just?
It contains my lawnmowers and all my yard equipment, so yeah, it's kind of important to me.
It's fine.
How large is that shed?
It is, I believe, rough estimate, 16 foot by maybe 10, 11, 12 foot, something like that. A car will fit inside of it. I've got 2 lawnmowers and a bunch of yard equipment in that.
Did you build that?
No, I did not. That was with the home from the beginning, the shed was, and then we built, my parents and I built the 2-car garage.
Mm-hmm. Looks very nice.
Is that the same garage that came before us a few months back?
No.
No.
Okay.
So it looks like the shed is approximately 20 by 14 or so.
I had a car in there. It was approximately, probably 16 and a half foot long, so 20 is probably pretty close to accurate. That's probably roof measurement from the satellite there.
Yeah.
So there's overhang.
The overhang, yeah.
Or maybe.
And did you put in the carport part that doesn't attach to the garage?
That was prior, that was my mother.
Okay.
She had all that done. When the garage was put up, we had all that put in, I believe. Because all the concrete work that was done there for the two-car garage was poured at the same time as the garage being built. So it would all be a zero walk-in for her into the back of the house there.
Which property line is the rear property line?
The north, the property is addressed off of Michigan.
Okay. So there's no problem with a 25-foot setback?
No, and accessory structures only need to be 3-foot setback. The main setback applies just to the principal building, so there's no setback issue with any of the accessory structures on this property.
Any other questions? Then thank you. Open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak for or against? Please come forward.
Maybe they are?
Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. And with that, I'll read the 5 conditions. As a request for variance may be granted upon the finding of the board that all of the following conditions have been met. The board shall make a determination on each condition, and the finding shall be entered in the record. First, that the variance requested arises from such conditions which is unique to the property in question and is not ordinarily found in the same zone or district, and is not created by an action or actions of the property owner or the applicant. Commissioner Kemp?
Me? I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's hard to hear sometimes.
Yep.
Mess. You know, I really want to vote in favor of this, but I just, I can't find a way to do it and meet the spirit of our requirements. I wish the pools weren't considered an accessory structure. No, then I wouldn't have, it would take that right off the table. But I'm gonna have to disagree.
I'm going to agree, though.
And I'm going to agree that the granting of the permit for the variance will not adversely affect the rights of the adjacent property owners or residents. Mr. Bates?
I agree.
I agree.
I agree that the strict application of the provisions of the development regulations from which the variance is requested will constitute unnecessary hardships upon the property owner represented in the application. I agree.
I disagree.
I agree.
That the variance desired will not adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, prosperity, or general welfare. Mr. Bates?
Agree.
Agree.
I agree. The granting of the variance desired will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the development regulations.
Agree.
Agree.
And I agree.
So before you actually make that last motion, I think we've done this once before, is, it really wouldn't make any difference. Well, maybe it would. If we had a full quorum here. I mean, a full slate.
I think we tabled it previously when it was a tie vote.
When it was a
2-2.
tie vote.
Was it a tie?
This one's passing.
This one passed.
Don't we have to have 3 in favor?
The first,
No, of the voting members that who are voting.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's the bad.
Yeah, no, yeah.
okay.
I was like, I really want to vote for it, but
Yeah.
I just
No,
can't.
yeah,
with
you're-
conscience.
yeah.
Okay.
Are there any,
I think the issue before, there was a tie on a couple of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could've
We were
been.
missing a person, and so
Yeah,
that's why we
okay.
tabled it. So yes,
Okay.
this is slightly different.
Okay. Thank you.
are there
Yes.
any conditions, safeguards, or restrictions that anyone wants to add?
I don't have any.
Nor do I.
Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve the variance.
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor, raise your right arm. Opposed?
I want to.
Okay,
Okay.
that completes that. Do we have any
No other items?
applications for next month?
Do we have any for August? We have one,
One,
so we've been keeping you guys busy.
okay.
So that's it.
So I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.